Okay, so it should be live. Okay. Cool. So thank you so much, Allison, for joining me today. I'm so excited that you're here. So Allison, I always like to try to start by how we met and how we know each other. So I had actually reached out to Allison to participate in an interview series that I did over the summer. And so that was super fun. And so that's how we got to know each other and get introduced. And Allison, she has so much like deep intuitive wisdom. And yeah, so I'm super excited for this conversation and to see where it goes.
Yeah, let's just start chewing on it.
So first of all, like, how have you been? Because we haven't even connected since it's been several months.
I've been fantastic. I mean, these kinds of conversations, this is what I do every second of every day. I have such a passion for expanding consciousness and expanding awareness and expanding not only that, but bringing it down to the ground level and being like, oh, so this is what that really weird esoteric concept means through my own lens and my own life and putting it really into practical use. So I'm doing this all day, every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's so important for the layperson or, someone who is in their baby stages of awakening, right? Because we throw out like all this terminology and all these phrases, like it's, we speak this different language almost.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other people out there that are like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much like highbrow conversation, and it's almost as if I sometimes will see people that think talking at a high level somehow makes them more spiritual. And I'm like, dude, if you can't bring it down and teach it to your neighbor, then what good is it?
It's useless at that point.
Yeah, it's useless. So
I mean, the only time I would ever do that maybe is if like I recognize that the person on the other end was also like that level of consciousness and could comprehend and speak that language with me.
Yeah.
But even when I do that, sometimes I feel so limited by the human language. It's like,
yes,
like I'm like flustering around with my words. Like, how do I even like explain some of this shit?
Yeah. I mean, it's, and when I say explain it, I don't mean dumb it down. You can explain really high level esoteric concepts, but the language is simple. And it's so finding the language is oftentimes the fun of it, because these inexplicable things, when we do find the language, that's evidence of manifestation. Like we're always looking for evidence of, ooh, I want to be a manifester. You are. Like if you woke up this morning, you're manifesting. Ooh, so
if
finding.
If the idea popped into your head, there it is.
Yeah, it's a manifestation. Bravo, you've done it.
Yeah.
Voila.
Yeah. So, so I was asking you right before we came on if there was like anything in your field, anything that was like particularly interesting. And I think there was something that you wanted to share from. First of all, tell us about this wisdom app, because I don't know much about it.
Yeah. So, it's an audio only app created by this woman named Dio. I can't pronounce her last name correctly, so I won't, but she created an app, an audio only, that's based on democratizing mentorship. And to me, that concept, I was like, bingo, democratizing mentorship. Because in the world of personal development, there's a lot of hierarchy involved with monetary exchange when it comes to mentorship. I mean, there's a lot of disabling going on when it comes to, I'm going to price myself here, which means, guess what? The majority of people don't have access to that. Come on, guys. Like, really? So I'm going to $20,000. Really? Okay. So whatever. So it's democratizing mentorship. It's based on having a conversation between two people. Other people can listen, but the app is set up to have this one-to-one conversation, and you can have it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. I'm there because that's what I want to do. If someone wants to ask me a question and have individualized conversation and support, that's my jam. I'm not a Clubhouse kind of person where it's popcorn bouncing all, you get bits and pieces of shit that that stuff that's going on that doesn't always land. I'm here for the slow cooker method. I'm here, so that's what that is. So I was on that app, and I'll listen in on conversations to see what I can learn, how I can expand my thinking, stuff like that. So these two people are having this conversation, and one person, I could tell just from his hesitancy of using the language, he identified as what he called an empath, but he was hesitant to strongly identify or even know how he defined it. And then this other person was a business intuitive, and she's fantastic. I've had several conversations with her, but she defines herself as a business intuitive, working and actually like sitting in a corporation and offering business coaching, but she's well-versed in what it means for her to be intuitive and this and that. So, but the guy said something, and I won't be able to quote him exactly, but it was like, almost like, I can be intuitive with limitation. Like that's a non-logical kind of, thing to do, but I also need to focus on real life, as if they're separate. And I'm like, dude, it's the same thing. What do you think your real life is? If not a projection of your consciousness? Like, come on. You are a spiritual being having a physical reality, and intuition is one of those components, creating what you perceive as your real life. It's the same thing. It is not separate. That's my take.
Yeah, the duality of it. And I think it's like, it's difficult for people at first when they're first coming into like awareness of it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, wait, because it's so new, and it's not new.
Right. Yeah.
It seems new, and it
Mm-hmm.
seems different, even though it's been there the whole time. And you have to like fully integrate it. You have to just fully embody it. And I think that just comes with like practice and time and experience and trust.
Right? But see, the conversations I want to have, even for the newbie, are conversations not of separation. They're conversations of integration.
Mm-hmm.
And that's different.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a person is, even a spiritual person, like, is listening to conversations that reinforce the idea and the belief system that these are separate, that I have to die to be more spiritual, I have to go study in a monastery in some place for a year to be more spiritual, then they're investing in conversations where they're struggling against themselves. They're investing in this concept of separation, versus right out of the get-go going, you're 100% intuitive. It just depends on how much you want to let in.
Yeah. And
it's not right or wrong. It's just how much.
Yeah. And it's nothing outside of ourselves that are going to make us more spiritual. It's going further deeper into ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like, how much do you want to connect with what you really are? Because I feel like the more work that I do, interpersonal work that I do on myself, I'm just kind of like shedding all of these old layers. And I'll shed, I'll witness it, I'll see it, I'll be like, oh my gosh, like there's this pattern. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I shed that and I shift that, and then, go about my life. And then all of a sudden there's another one. I'm like, whoa, there's another one. And they just like keep coming. And so I'm just like shedding all of these, they're like programs. They're not even real. They're just like these false illusions from society and from our family and everything else. And so now I'm actually connecting with like who I actually am.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part.
That's so cool. Yeah. I think right now, if you sort of look through time and space, it's from a historical lens, we are now at this point of focus where more and more people are sort of doing that more and more often. They're like, oh, wait, that's a belief. And I see that belief in a pattern, and wait, I don't really want that because that stinks. So what else can I do? Oh, I can do this other thing, and I can do it faster than I thought I did before. And like, so many people are, and they call, sometimes they refer to it as waking up. I just think it's seeing, more of the patterns, more of the beliefs for what they are, and not really in knowing that they're not us, that they're literally just structures of energy that we can deconstruct, reconstruct another way, leave there, build something else. Like there's a million different ways you can do it.
There's infinite ways.
Infinite ways. Infinite ways. Yes. Like that's so cool.
There are. Yeah, it's just so crazy because you can like completely, if you want to, you can completely like dismantle your whole entire life, like everything, and start a completely new one.
Yep.
You know
what it makes me think of, looking at all the guitars, this concept of frequency too, because that can be like, what does that have to do with my real life? It's like everything. And as I have a ukulele and I'm learning to play it, and as I'm like plucking the strings, I'm thinking about, all right, so I hit this string, it causes a vibration. I can auditorily translate that vibration. That's exactly what's happening in our physical reality. Is like this is a vibration, right? This is a tone, this is something coming through on a frequency, this whole thing, right? It's a vibe. And the people that are resonant with that vibe will watch the video. That's how they connect. That's how they even find it in the first place, because it exists on a frequency, on a vibe, on a channel.
Yeah.
They tune into that channel and they go, oh, there's a conversation. And how do I feel about that conversation? And what can I take from that conversation? Did I like it? Did I not like it? And everything, even the stuff we don't like, is information.
Oh yeah. All of it. That's why, like, lately I say there are no mistakes.
Nope.
Because it's all relevant. It's all important. I think, as Abraham Hicks says, everything that we experience, even the things that we don't want, that just shows us what we do want. So
right.
we need that contrast, because, if you think about it, if we're going about life and everything is fine all the time, like, how do we pick and choose what we want from that if there's like a million different things to pick from?
Right. The other concept that is like, it's literally hit me today. It was like I was sitting on the fence of this concept, and it was like, it's the concept of reality being a mirror. So whatever I extract from you is a mirror of what's present in me. Whatever the viewer extracts from this interaction is a mirror, is just showing them what's active in them. And then I was like, so how does that interact with this concept of victimization in terms of my own life, this sense of lack of confidence in self, lack of self-confidence? And I was like, okay, so let me sit from a perspective in my own, like I'm playing in my imagination and imagining these feelings. Like if I sit from a place of things are being done to me, it feels really awful. And then I switch and I look over here and I'm like, all right, so this stuff, even you, is a projection of something that's active in me. And then I was like, okay, lack of self-confidence or lack of confidence, confident, because every single thing. And so I was playing with this concept for myself, going back and forth, feeling the differentiation. I'm like, that is so freaking cool that I can be self-aware enough to know the difference and then overlap these like in a sandwich and be like, oh, that's why I never had self-confidence. All of those interactions felt like a sense of victimization. Everything that went wrong, everything felt like it was like, just, I had no control. Oh, I have all the control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So something that's been coming up for me, and I know a lot of other people lately, has been, well, first of all, things have been crazy, right? Like energetically, I feel like things have just been intense since probably like early 2019. I don't know. Oh, did she freeze or did I freeze?
Oh, it froze. Okay, I'm back.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. So things have been, super intense energetically. And with all this shedding, I know in my life, I have been really releasing the things that no longer serve me. And that includes relationships. And at times it can feel really lonely. Oh, I think she might have frozen again. Or maybe I did. Maybe she'll pop back on. We'll see. Hopefully. I don't know. She might pop back on. She was letting me know that her internet was having some issues. So it's going to be just me for right now. So I'll continue with this little dialogue here. But yeah, as we release and let go of the things that no longer serve us and releasing these relationships. And sometimes these are relationships, these are people that we've known for a really long time, and we have a history with them, and we've been through so much with them. And there's love there. There's always going to be love there. And I think that's what makes it so difficult, is realizing that the love that we have for ourselves needs to be more than the love that we have for that other person, and recognizing what is truly serving us and what is not. And so if we're in a relationship or in a situation that is not serving us, learning to surrender and let that go. And that can be really, really difficult. And I wrote a post about that recently, and it's lonely, it can be really lonely. The more work that we do on ourselves, and the more releasing and letting go of those people, yeah, it can be really lonely on this path. And yeah, I think that's one thing that's not talked about enough. And like, one thing I was talking to a friend about this earlier today is that, I love people. I do. I love connecting with people. I love meeting new people. I think there's something to be learned from every single person that we interact with and every single person that we meet. And, even though I can be around people that are the salt of the earth and they are just really, really nice people, they're still not my people, right? And so what I'm finding is, oh, she's coming back in. There we go. Yeah, you're back.
I'll try from my phone.
Okay, sweet. I was just going into this little monologue about, something that I've been kind of like realizing lately is the more work that we do, sometimes it can get really lonely.
Yeah.
As we let go of the things that no longer serve us, like relationships. Mm-hmm. And I love people, I do. And they can be like salt of the earth and really kind people, but they're not my people, mm-hmm. And I'm finding that I'm still having to spend energy on filtering what I say, like my thoughts have to go through this extra filter before mm-hmm. they come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And also like holding back a lot.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of energy.
Well, it's resistance, and resistance is it does. And because our natural state of being is that free flowing energetic state. And so, and I can totally relate to what you're saying, because for so many years I did that too. And then, so overlapping concept, I was like, all right, so every 3 years or so, it felt like I would shift groups of people and have to let go. And they looked like they literally disappeared. But then I was like, all right, so why would that happen to me or anybody else? Why would relationships come and go and do all that? And I'm like, oh, because what you are not the vibration of, you cannot perceive. So as you shift vibration, guess what's going to shift? Friendships. And I was like, oh, so it actually wasn't me, because I was one of those people that wanted to hang on forever. I thought these relationships were supposed to be forever. And it really hurt when they left. But then I was like, oh, so they can't. So that's pretty cool.
Sorry, it cut out on the very last thing you said.
It's just that, if we're not of a of a similar vibration in some regard, they'll leave your reality. And that looks like a friendship dissolving, a relationship dissolving, a partnership dissolving. It's like, and sometimes you can reconnect on a different frequency. So I think with that, in hindsight, as somebody who did exactly what you said, I felt like I had to filter myself. If you don't filter yourself, if you just exist at the frequency that you feel like it's resonant with your authentic self, everything else takes care of itself. And while some relationships dissolve, the other ones fill in the spot.
Yeah. And I was experiencing so my particular situation was a little bit trickier because they didn't just dissolve. They didn't just, gently go away. I had to make a very like concerted decision, to like cut it. Yeah. So that was difficult. It would have been a lot easier if they just like fell away.
Yes. So when I say dissolve, the dissolution process could be anything depending on because take, for example, divorce. I mean, some divorces are amicable because the people aren't resistant to what's actually happening, and others, it's tooth and nail. It's fighting the whole way. Or sibling confrontation, or anything, friendships. I mean, and even so I had a situation with a friend. We were still my best friend, but came a point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore the way this is existing. And so we broke up, and then we ended up coming back together and restarting the friendship. So it just depends on, but for me, it was heartbreaking when I did not understand why things had to shift and change.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's heartbreaking. And, I think it's important that we talk about it and recognize it. And, there's going to be grief. There's going to be sadness. There's going to be all these feelings that come with it. And that's okay. I think that so much of our culture wants to diminish those feelings and pretend they don't exist or shun them, and try to, just try to comfort people and make them feel better, because those people are uncomfortable with it. But we have to allow that uncomfortable state, and we have to allow those feelings, whatever they are, for as long as they're there,
Yeah.
That's just part of processing it. But, and even though, like, yes, it is lonely, I'm still, having that trust and having that faith that those relationships will be replaced with people that actually see me and value me for who I am, because I have enough self-love now that I won't accept anything less than that.
Yeah. Oh, they're absolutely there. There's no other way about it. They are there, and you will convene or commune with those people when synchronicity brings you those people, myself included. Here we are, a different conversation that you invited.
Yeah. And I've already met a few people like that. And I feel so fortunate now that I actually have healthy friendships. And this is like the first time in my life. And I'm 38. And this is the first time in my life that I have a healthy friendship, a healthy relationship with another human. And I'm just like, whoa.
It's interesting, Matt, because when I was in my 30s, so let's see, if my daughter, who's now 19, this happened when she was 4, so a while ago, and I'm 51 now. Someone else can do the math. So I had a friendship with a woman who I met in a park with her daughter that was the same age, and we were really good friends. And she became the godmother of my youngest child. So we were really involved. We saw each other all the time. I did not realize how unhealthy that relationship was, because we were communing on certain things, like talk about other people, fear-based concepts. She had an affair and her husband told me about it. And then one day she planned a birthday party for me. Nobody told me, nobody got me there. It was a surprise birthday party. And our kids were at the same preschool. And so I didn't know, like I didn't show up. The next day, literally the next day, I see her at this preschool that we both go to, bring our kids to. And I see her in the parking lot. I'm like, hey, what, like, thanks so much. Like, nobody told me. She had her car window opened up like this much. And she just basically never talked to me again. But that was it. She never spoke to me again. So that's how unhealthy that relationship was. But I remember after that, I was writing an email to somebody else in that group trying to be like, I have no idea what happened, right? Like logistically or logically, nothing made sense. But as I'm typing this email, trying to justify myself, I hear this voice in my head and it goes, let it go. And I hit delete. I'm like, delete, done.
Yep.
Let it go. I was so grateful. I'm so grateful for that painful experience to have heard my inner voice say, let it go. And I knew the divine nature of the voice. It was so calm and so loving. It was just like, let it go. That's it. Let it go.
It's like that Frozen song. Let it go. Let
Yes.
it go. I just think about that every time.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because that's the holding on to the thing is the resistance, and letting it go is the surrender. Not to say you should okay, this might be where the English language confuses things, but not to say you should just let everything go. But if it's not energetically worth your time, if it's not going to serve you, if you have to make that assessment.
Yes. But I think what you mean by, at least when I say let it go, or what I meant by let it go, was let go of the trauma and the drama and investing in trying to keep alive things that were based in an energy of lack, an energy of fear, and an energy of jealousy. I mean, there was a lot of talking about other women and stuff. If you notice someone doing that, that's an energy of lack of self-worth enough to not talk badly about others.
Absolutely. So I had, pretty recent, last year, but I had a roommate situation where I moved in with these women, and they present themselves as one way, as being very spiritual, and they do yoga all the time, and there's Buddha paintings everywhere, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then in the first week they're talking about people and gossiping, and I'm like, oh no. This is not right. Because that's
Yes.
it's one of the 4 agreements, I think.
Well, what I love about, so people ask about the concept of we create our own reality. And what I love about situations like that, when we find ourselves in situations where we're like, not exactly what I wanted, it's because we are given an opportunity of making a choice to know. I think that's people talk about the law of attraction. Yes, it's the law of attraction, but also when you're in that situation, it's an opportunity to see that you're different. How awesome is that?
Yeah. And the problem was I wasn't clear enough about what I wanted. And part of that is learning. Part of that is experience, and I've been going through a lot of those lessons lately.
Yeah. And just the fear of the unknown, we as humans have fear that things are not going to work out for us. We have that fear because we don't know what the future looks like. And I have been battling that my entire life. This fear of, oh my God, if I say no to that, what is going to fill that space? And how do I know what it's going to be? And only now, after 10 years of daily awareness and making these choices in every given moment. And I'm not done with this. This is not a done thing, but it's you're in the situation and you have to recognize am I operating? Am I posting on Instagram? Am I choosing conversations? Am I sitting in I'm sitting at my desk reading a book, feeling a certain way? Am I operating out of a sense of fear of things won't work out for me? Or am I just
Oh no. I hope we don't lose her again, because that was really good where she was going. Let's see. Let's give it another moment. I'm sure she will pop back on in a few minutes. Yeah, she's having internet connection issues. Oh, yeah, it's just me again. Hi. But what Allison was just talking about was really interesting about, fear of the unknown and that fear that things aren't going to work out. Oh, yay. That was quick. Wait, so okay, unmute yourself. You're still muted.
okay? There we go.
Oh, that where she was going was really good. Okay. Yeah, so you were talking about this fear of the unknown and that things
Oh
aren't
yeah.
work out for us.
Yes. And so I would say that it behooves every human to not kid themselves and not say that they're not scared when they are, because that does, I mean, maybe you look brave to other people, but this is a vibrational reality and it knows that you feel fear. So what good is it doing to lie to yourself? To try to tell yourself I'm actually excited, but you're sweating bullets, your stomach's in knots, you're actually anxious. So, it just admitting that, because that is where you're creating from. You can think one way, but you feel another. It's completely possible to do that. You can, think a positive thought that has no correlation to the emotion that you're feeling, but you're creating from that sense of feeling, because that's how you identify what your vibe is. It's outed by how you feel. That's how you know what your vibe is.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I resonate so much with what you're talking about, the fear of the unknown and not knowing what's going to happen. And like a common thing, like I think I got a lot of this from, past generations. I think it gets passed down, and my mom would always say things like, oh, well, I just don't want you to be on the bread lines. Like that's even a thing anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no, like I'll be fine. I will figure it out. I always do. And like am I still sometimes like nervous and scared? Yeah, of course, but I do it anyway, and I know that there's so much growth in that, and it's so uncomfortable, but I know that if I don't face it, like I'm gonna have to face it at some point, whether it's this lifetime or another one. And I do trust that everything is going to work out and everything's going to be okay, because I mean, in the end, like we're all going to the same place.
Yep.
Right. And it's I'm not afraid of death anymore. I used to be for most of my life. And I think that's the thing that I think people are so afraid of, is death, because they don't know what happens.
Right.
And I believe what happens is our soul goes back to the universe, goes back to God, spirit, and then we don't actually die. I think our soul is eternal and we don't actually die. And I've had some some brief encounters with death, so I'm not afraid of it anymore. And so once you get to that point, it's like, okay, like what are you gonna do to me? What, you can't actually kill me. You can't kill my soul.
Right. I don't know if I told this story on the interview series that you did. Did I tell you about my mom when my mom died, or no? Do you remember? So when I was 20, that look on your face says no. So when I was 20, my mom had pancreatic cancer. She was 6 weeks from diagnosis to death. And my mom was also, there was a lot of crap going on in our family for a long time. My sister, she was doing drugs and alcohol, and I think she was schizophrenic, diagnosed as schizophrenic one time. She ran away from home. She was in, so all this stuff. My parents got divorced. Like there was a lot of the negative energy going on within her while she was focused here. But we were with her, my brother and sister-in-law and I were with her when she transitioned. And while she was still focused in her physical form, there was still the tension. There was the resistance. There was you could feel the compilation of energy that had built up to be her. As soon as she transitioned, my conscious awareness convened with hers. And what was communicated was, when you transition back, you are absorbed, sort of, so to speak, absorbed, but you focus back into the stream of well-being that you are. And I felt I felt love. I felt the dissolution of all the resistance. And that was our, I guess, agreement, that we would have this moment where I would know what was happening to non-physical consciousness. So it took me years. I forgot about it. For many years, I went about my merry way. But now it serves me, because now I'm in these conversations where we're talking about, well, what is non-physical consciousness? How does it work? So that experience was my experience. And then I heard another teacher talking about, how do you know what's real, the non-physical consciousness or this physical presentation? And this teacher was saying, physical reality disappears, which is how you know it's not real. Right. And then, weave in the conversation people who talk to transitioned loved ones, people who channel, all those are non-physical consciousness that still exists. So yes, it exists. And yes, it is you. It's not like some people are special and they get to exist forever and you don't. And that kind of brings it back to this conversation with this guy who was trying to separate his intuition from real life. I'm like, that is your real life. That is the real you.
Yeah, it's not some like magic trick. It's
no
part of you. It's part of your abilities. And people like to go around calling themselves, an empath, or I'm an HSP, or blah, blah, blah. But every single person has those abilities.
Yes.
You're not special.
Mm-mm.
I know people like to think they're special, but
right.
Every single person has the potential to tap into those abilities. It's just when they're ready to do that, and when they choose to do that. And myself, I was tapped into those at a pretty early age. I think I probably came in with those.
Well, we all do, but then the really interesting part is I think everybody has those perceptions and those experiences, but because when we're young, they're just part of our reality, we don't question that. We don't put them in boxes and say, I'm an empath, I have intuition. We just do these things. Mm-hmm. And then as we get older, we start to put things into boxes, and then listen to somebody who says, I'm special, look at what I have. And you're like, ooh, they're special. They have something I don't have. We start to, have these beliefs about self, that other people are more gifted than us. Other people are, have this and we don't have it. Somehow we were born without it. And I'm like, you know what? When we're born, we're all non-physical consciousness projecting ourselves here. We're all this stream of well-being. We each have different themes.
I wonder, so I love your perspective on this. So I always felt so different when I was a child and when I was young. I felt so different, even from the people in my own family unit and pretty much everyone. I had a couple really good friends, but I felt so different from everyone else. And I felt and maybe that wasn't even real, but I felt like I could see things that other people didn't see, or I could feel or sense things that other people couldn't.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because, yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
Well, I think so. We're all non-physical consciousness. We all come from the same stream of well-being. We're the same, we're ladle us up and pour us in. It's the same bucket we're being poured from. But I think every individual has their own way of exploring this physical reality. And some people will choose to focus in one direction, and other people will choose to be aware of those experiences and to look through that lens and recognize them. One way is not worse or better than the other. It's just there's infinite ways to explore this reality. And the other cool thing that has like really kind of sunk into my thick headspace recently is this idea that because consciousness is enveloped in all that is, when we're looking through this lens of the physical reality, it is by default a lens of limitation. The structure of the lens that we look through diminishes the wholeness of the experience. So we get to decide which parts am I going to not see, and some people choose not to see or have any relationship. They get totally ding dong that someone would even think about into it. Like that's great. We need all different perspectives, which is why we have them. And some people choose to recognize and remember and use that knowledge to expand certain conversations and certain relationships. And we all come whole. Every single one of us has the same components, but how we choose to express it is the beauty of expansion of all that is. Like everything is needed and necessary because that's why we're doing it. And you get to choose as you identify as Leigh, you get to say, oh, I really like this idea. And I really want to deny that idea. And I really want to explore that. And I get to say something different. And then those of us who like energy attracts itself. So those who want to have thoughts about these kinds of conversations will come together and we'll expand those. And even those that come and watch this, I would encourage them to pay attention to how they feel about the conversation we're having, because they'll be aware of what their belief systems about this. So we're talking about everyone has this. You as the viewer, do you go, oh, no, I don't? Well, there's your belief system. It's fine. Do you want to change it? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, I think that's so important because we tend to be so heady and in our minds, and we're having a very heady conversation, right? But yeah, to for the viewers to actually sit and notice somatically what they're experiencing in their body is very important because that's intuition. So it's funny. So I'm right now I'm doing work trades through something called Workaway. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah.
So it's basically where I go to stay with someone who's a host, and I work about 20-25 hours a week in exchange for room and board. And I had a couple friends that did this, and I thought it would be really fun and cool to experience it.
Yeah.
So I went and I did my first one, and my second one was lined up, and I was just getting so much anxiety about this. And I was just like tense in my body, and I was like, what the heck is going on? Right. And this is like my body trying to tell me, my body is intuiting that this was not for me, and I was not supposed to go to this one. Okay. And so I found a different place to go to, which immediately the anxiety went away, like just like that. It was amazing. But wow, the body knows, so if you're feeling anxious or something's going on in your body, like really, ask yourself and explore, like, what is my body trying to tell me right now?
So here's an interesting idea as you're talking and thinking about this. So what if the body is telling you precognitive information because your essence of you lives outside of time and space? Your essence of you is a free-flowing, non-physical consciousness that knows already everything that you want and need. And so it's already giving you information about, stuff that's coming. And it's like a second manifestation. The body itself is just intuiting information that you've already ascertained on a non-physical level. It's like real time data gathering.
Yeah, it's insane. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but it just seems a little crazy to me, I guess, because this is something that I for most of my life, I was not tapped into this at all. Like I would view that, probably even a few years ago, I would say, oh, I'm just nervous. I'm just nervous about this, it'll be fine. And then
Yeah.
it's not.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the workaway experience has been really, really interesting.
That
So
sounds
of
super.
course, and those are the dogs. Yeah, I'm currently, hey, hush. I'm currently at the host is a dog breeder. So
Oh,
yeah, so we have a litter of puppies coming in a couple weeks, and then we should have another litter around the holidays or like early January. Yeah, so I'll be a puppy doula, I guess.
nice. Oh, that sounds so fun. You know what I love? It's just this idea that anything is possible. And as every generation is born, there are more and more ideas about how to get everything we want and need without necessarily stressing over money. It's like the service exchange. It's like, what do you need? I need this. Okay, great. I want to, I posted something about the desk yesterday, this desk that I got. It was like someone was selling this desk. I didn't even know I wanted this desk till I saw it. I took their desk off of our Facebook Marketplace. We had to get rid of the one that we had. It was this beautiful just exchange of, co-creation. The person that got our desk was beyond happy, right? And we got this one. And it was like, oh, it's just sort of this exchange. That's what I kind of think of what you're doing. It's like this exchange.
Yeah, it is an exchange because I'm learning stuff from them, and they're also learning stuff from me. So it's this beautiful co-creation, collaboration. Of course, I've learned that they're not all like that, and how to use better discernment. But yeah, it's a beautiful experience, and I think too for a lot of people right now, especially since the COVID times, they have been considering whether or not they really want to continue working that job or living the life that they were living. And I know in some fields they are doing away with the religious exemptions.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are gonna I think people are figuring out different ways to live and alternative
Yeah.
ways to live. And that is us like standing in our power,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Beautiful,
we
beautiful,
get to
beautiful
choose.
universe. We had choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's no just like one way to do things. As we said, there's infinite ways to do things. And if you can't see that, you're just stuck in your own limitations, and they're keeping you trapped. You're just being imprisoned by them. And I think that's why sometimes, I guess, circling back to the people that I had to let go of, is they saw that, and I think subconsciously they were threatened by that because they they were recognizing their own limitations,
Mm-hmm.
their own, not inability, but the choice that they were making not to venture outside and try something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I came across a sentence the other day that, because, when we're everything that we do is based on belief systems, like you're talking about. It's like we have these belief systems. So if we ask ourselves, what would I need to believe is true about myself in relationship to this topic to feel the way I do, that busts open those active beliefs. So, every person on every side could ask themselves that question in relationships that would evidence for themselves what their active belief is in that moment that's making them feel that way. I ask myself that all the time. Like I'm thinking about anything, what would I need to believe is true about myself in relationship to this topic to feel the way I do? And then be like, oh, I feel like I'm supposed to know the answer, or I'm worried that it's not going to work out, or, you know, whatever the situation is. You know, you can find what your active belief is, and then you can change it. And then you feel, then you have everything.
Yeah. And you help people do exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So if people want to work with you or get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that? And I can definitely post links in the description, but what's the best way to do that?
So normally what I invite people to do is just have a discovery call with me, and you can on Instagram, on the link in bio, you know, there are all those little tabs there that you could schedule a call. Right now, what I'm doing is I pared down my Accelerate Your Mojo program, which is the one-to-one program I work with women on, which is intuition, transforming fear, and being one's authentic self. And I took 70% off the price. So if someone's thinking about working with a mentor, if they like what I say, the way I say it, I would say now would be a great time to just talk to me and see if it's the right thing for you. And I just posted this on LinkedIn, and I always want to make it clear, I'm not a salesperson. I'm an educator. So don't freak out thinking I'm going to hold your, toes to the fire to try to buy something. It's not me. I started in elementary education, and I'm an educator. The same way that if you wanted to enroll in a course in college, the teacher would never be like, buy this course now, or you're never going to get your, it's like, that's baloney. You understand the exchange. It's education for tuition. That's what I'm an educator. I'm a supporter. I'm a mentor. You got to do the work on yourself, but they can go to Instagram, click on that link. Now would be a good time because it's 70% off. If it resonates, some people I don't resonate with, some people I don't want to coach. It's like, that's a possibility. Or yes, if I can sense that it would put somebody into financial distress, I'd be like, come back later, or try this, or just connect with me on wisdom or something. I don't ever want somebody to be in a financial distress because of trying to work with me. So Instagram's a good place. You can go to my website with just AllisonSutter.com. I have a YouTube channel. I don't do much with it, but it's out there. Just Google my name. Stuff will come up. I've been doing this long enough that I have
your website,
a footprint. Yeah.
Yeah.
Send me an email. It's Allison@living360coaching.com. It's not like I'm some, there's 3 levels. It's not like Kevin Bacon's 7 levels of differentiation. It's like, it's just me.
Yeah. She's very accessible. She's very accessible, and she's responsive, which I appreciate.
Yeah. I'm very boutiquey. Like, I have a certain number of hours in the day that I want to work in depth with the right individual, one at a time. That's my passion. I'm not looking to stack people up and put them on, recording so that I can make income claims, which is what a lot of people do.
Oh my gosh. That could be a whole separate conversation. This whole, I won't go into it, but part of an old paradigm that needs to be shifted anyway.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. So I'll post those links in the description. And before we wrap up and go, is there anything that you want to share? Anything upcoming?
No, I'm here.
Or just any words of wisdom you want to impart, anything to end with?
So there's always one sentence that I tell people, because everyone's like, what's the formula for success? What's the formula for happiness? Like, blah, blah, blah. There is a sentence that if you follow, and it's a long sentence, but if you follow it, it is literally the frequency of abundance. It goes like this: follow your highest level of excitement from the choices that you have before you in any given moment. Take it as far as you can take it, so you can't take it any farther. And don't assume that passion or excitement or interest is supposed to transform into something specifically. And stay in a positive mindset no matter what transforms or what happens. Slow that down, write it out for yourself. If you have questions about it, come over to Instagram and ask me. I talk about this stuff all the time. We can break it down, come to wisdom. We can break it down and talk it through. I violated that when we talked about relationships. I violated the assumption. I assumed that those relationships were supposed to last forever, and it caused me so much pain instead of just allowing them to be what they were supposed to be in my life. So,
yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And you guys, yeah, check out her Instagram because she's got some really cool content on there. And yeah, thanks again for coming on. I really enjoyed our conversation as always. And maybe we can do it again sometime in the future.
yeah, of course. Absolutely. Come, we'll do an Instagram live on my page. We'll just have a chit chat.
Yes, I would love to. All
Okay.
right,
Awesome.
Allison, well, have a great rest of your day and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye.